Om Shri Sai Ram. Pranams at the lotus feet of our Lord and Master, Bhagwan Shri Satya Sai Baba. Sai Ram to everyone and a warm welcome to Shashank. We have with us today Dr. Shashank Shah, who will answer questions on spirituality, Indian culture, ethics, values, and prayer. Shashank is a gift not only to his parents, but also to the entire Sai family, the Sai fraternity. Swami had blessed Shefali when she'd gone there to Puttaparthi and they were in the interview room. She was with her father. Swami materialized Vibhuti and gave it to her. And like a faithful wife, she wanted to keep it for her husband. When Swami said, no, eat it right now. So Shefali ate the Vibhuti. And within 10 months, Shashank was born. So you see how we have a gift from Sai to the entire Sai family and the Sai fraternity. Shashank has experienced Swami's grace on a number of times. When he was hardly 2 or 2.5 years old, one day when they were sitting for darshan, Shefali was sitting with him and Swami came out and he was coming towards the ladies' side to give darshan. And this little boy suddenly told his mother in Gujarati, Mama, Mama, Dio, Dio, Divo, Divo. Divo, I think in Gujarati means the diya, the light, the lamp. So the mother was wondering what he had seen, where he saw that light. It struck her later that he must have seen the light in Swami. So Swami showed him the light at such a young age, at the age of about 2 or 2.5. Even as a student, Shashank has experienced Swami's grace. He wanted to join Puttaparthi for his further studies. And for that, of course, as all of us know, we have to appear for the entrance examination. But the dates of the entrance examination at Parthi were clashing with his BCom exam, which he had to appear in Bombay because he was a student of HR College, which is affiliated to Mumbai University. So he was a little upset about it. But as Swami willed it, for the first time in the history of Mumbai University, the BCom exams were preponed by 2 months. So Shashank was able to appear for his BCom and also go and appear for the entrance examination. After which, of course, he joined Puttaparthi. He did his MBA and his MPhil from Puttaparthi. He is a gold medalist thrice over, once for his BCom from Mumbai University, and the remaining 2 gold medals he received at the Divine Hands for his MBA and his MPhil. He went on to do his PhD also. In fact, Swami wanted him to complete his PhD within a certain stipulated time. That also was a sign to him so that he had to hurry up and do his PhD. And Shashank was able to complete it. And he received his PhD degree from the Divine Hands at the convocation. I think that was the last convocation in the year 2007. Okay. So Swami has been blessing Shashank on a number of occasions. And Shashank also, as we all know, has been a visiting scholar, visiting lecturer. He also has been able to write a number of books. He is listed among the top 200 most influential global thought leaders, 2021. He's published more than 250 papers. As I told you, he's written a number of books and spoken on a range of topics like CSR, value-based business, Indian culture, spirituality, etc. He's a visiting scholar at the Harvard Business School. He is the youngest Management Council member of the Sri Satya Sai Trust, Maharashtra. So we're very proud to have Shashank with us. Shashank, welcome to you. And as Swami says, being endowed with the human form, you must strive to develop human values and not stray away from the path of righteousness. So Swami gives a lot of importance to duty. So let us perform a duty and have faith in the Lord. For as Baba says, where there is faith, there is love. Where there is love, there is peace. Where there is peace, there is truth. Where there is truth, there is God. And where there is God, there is bliss. So let us sit back and enjoy a blissful evening listening to Dr. Shashank Shah. Over to you, Shashank.
Thank you, Maya Auntie. Om Shri Sai Ram, offering our loving pranams at Swami's Divine Lotus feet. Sai Ram to all of you. It's wonderful being back again in about 6 weeks for this spiritual question and answer series that's being anchored by the Fort Samiti of Sri Sathya Sai Seva Organizations, Mumbai. Thank you to Maya Auntie for her introduction. Small correction, the year in which I got the PhD was 2010. The year in which Swami instructed me to finish it within 2.5 years was 2007. 2010 was the last convocation, and I was blessed to be the very last recipient of the degree from Swami's hand as the revered founder chancellor. So all those references brought back many wonderful memories. There are several questions which have come, and I'll be answering some of them today. There are lots of questions that have come, so probably we'll do one more session to complete the remaining questions. But before I start with today's set of questions, it would be worthwhile to reflect on a very important occasion tomorrow, which is also the beginning of a fortnight of sadhana for all members of our organization. Tomorrow is Gandhi Jayanti. It's the 152nd birth anniversary of the father of the nation, Mahatma Gandhi. I'd like to quote the famous scientist Albert Einstein, who had said about Mahatma Gandhi that generations to come will scarce believe that such a one as this ever walked in flesh and blood on the face of this earth. That's the kind of impact Gandhiji had on millions of individuals across the globe. While you could disagree with him on political opinions, but you could not disagree with the vision of the man and the values that he brought to the table. I'm particularly fond of recollecting Mahatma Gandhi and his message and his mission because he was a role model of my late maternal grandfather, Professor C.H. Shah, who at the call of Mahatma Gandhi had a courted arrest in 1952 during the Quit India movement. He was just 22 years old, and he underwent a jail term of 2 years to revolt against the British rule in India with great pride for the motherland. After he completed his term, he came out, he settled down in life, he completed his PhD and had an illustrious academic career. But it was this unique ability of Gandhiji, who through his personal example could inspire millions across the country towards the cause of political freedom for India, and also dedicate their time, their resources, in fact, even their life. And there aren't many personalities like him in the human sphere who have been able to inspire such a large magnitude of people from across the globe towards fighting for their rights through the righteous means. And in faraway lands like in South Africa, where Nelson Mandela, or in America, where Martin Luther King Jr. were inspired by this person who was called the Naked Fakir by the British Raj. In fact, his vision of administration was based on the ideal of Ramarajya, as given in the Ramayana. His total commitment to non-violence as a way of life was inspired by the philosophy of Jainism, and his understanding of spirituality sprung forth from the message of the Bhagavad Gita. And all of these are as relevant today as they were a century ago when he brought them to life in his message and his mission. An important part of his life's mission was of purity. And that's why our organization has named this particular fortnight as a mission for Swachhata se Divyata tak. Swachhata is the beginning, which is symbolic of the message of Mahatma Gandhi. Divyata is the ultimate end goal, which is symbolized by October 20th, which we celebrate as the Avatar Declaration Day. Interestingly, Swachhata or purity is also a part of our organization's 10 guiding principles. We have a 9-point code of conduct, and we also have a set of 10 guiding principles. In that point number 4, Swami says these were given during the 60th birthday in 1985. He has said in that point number 4, keep your home and your surroundings clean and pure. It will ensure health and happiness for you and the society. This is a simple way in which Swami has underscored the importance of purity. Purity or swachhata or shaucha is also a part of Ashtanga Yoga, or the 8 steps of sage Patanjali. In the second step, yama, shaucha or purity is an important component. And I think it's a good opportunity to talk about the importance of purity or shaucha here, so that we are able to understand the spiritual significance of it. So there are 2 parts to purity or shaucha that we are going to discuss, going to practice it over the next fortnight. It would be worthwhile to understand that. I'm highlighting all of this based on Swami's message and his writings and discourses, and what we've learned from him in his physical lifetime. So the one part of purity is the external purity. It is not just related to our body, but it is related to our clothes, our home, our environs in which we live, and the way we need to present ourselves. In fact, Swami was extremely particular about the way we present ourselves, that we should be clean, we should be well groomed, we should be hygienic in everything that we do. And no wonder the students and staff at Prashantanilayam used to shine in those whites as it was the uniform at Prashantanilayam. And in fact, on one occasion, Swami had mentioned, do you know why I have kept the color white as the uniform for the staff members and students? Because the color white symbolizes purity. If you are wearing a white color, even if there is the smallest of mark on that, it is clearly seen. And so you are extremely careful to ensure that your white clothes do not become dirty or do not gather any stains. Similarly, you should be extremely particular that your character does not gather the smallest of stain, because even a small stain gets magnified in your pure character. So that is the symbolism behind the white dress that Swami has mandated for staff and students at Prashantanilayam. In fact, there is a beautiful discourse, and I would urge all the listeners to read it. It was delivered on the 2nd of April in the year 2000. The entire discourse is on the theme of cleanliness. It was given at Trei Brindavan. And Swami elaborated on the importance of cleanliness in our personal life. Clean nails, clean hair, clean clothes, clean mouth. Swami underscored the use of toothbrush and toothpaste. And I'm reminded of another Dasara discourse where Swami said that he brushes several times a day because the mouth is the gateway to the body, and a clean mouth ensures good health. And cleanliness promotes good vibrations and hence good thoughts. And it creates the right environment for spiritual living. So you see, the external purity is a prerequisite, is a precondition for internal purity. It is also symbolic of the kind of discipline that we maintain. And hence Swami is extremely particular about the importance of swachhata or purity and cleanliness in our daily life. Now, this external purity leads to internal purity. How does it lead to internal purity? What is internal purity and how can we maintain it? And let me compare, this again is an example from Swami's message. Let me compare, or rather first, let me talk about the journey of the river Ganga. The river Ganga is the most venerated river in India. We venerate it at all the important points in its journey from Gangotri to Ganga Sagar. But how is the river Ganga or Mother Ganga at different points in its journey? At its source, it is the purest. We would like to get the drinking water, the Ganga water, the Ganga Jal from its source. So we go to Gangotri and gather that Jal and bring it home so that we can use it for various spiritual and religious purposes. As it moves from its source at Gangotri, it is coming down with full enthusiasm through the hills, like a young girl dancing and playing, and with all fun and frolic, it is running and gushing down the hills of the Himalayas. and coming down to the plains. Its content of water is much smaller, but the water is of extremely high purity. In fact, you can see through the water and you can see the ground below the water and the pebbles and other things below the water. That much clean it is. But as it gets into the plains, it starts accumulating dirt. It starts accumulating dirt and filth because all of that is added to it as it passes through all important landmarks in its journey towards its destination. Whether it is the filth of towns and industries, whether it is the filth of different kinds of affluents that are left into the Ganga, all of that gets accumulated. And by the time it reaches Ganga Sagar, it has almost become like sewage water, extremely dirty, full of all junk and dirt and filth. Yet its size has increased phenomenally large. The Gangotri Ganga is a stream. The Ganga at Kolkata is like a huge body of water from one end to the other. You need a boat to travel. Its size is massive, but its speed has become a trickle. It has become very slow. And finally, it reaches Ganga Sagar and achieves its destination. Now, why am I talking about the river Ganga in such elaboration? Because the river Ganga is symbolic of our life. Our life is pristine and pure at the beginning. When we are a small child, we are innocent. We don't distinguish between a thief and a chief. We don't distinguish between a sinner and a saint. For us, all are equal. I'm reminded of a beautiful image I saw on social media. There was this priest in church who was doing some ceremony. I think it was the baptism ceremony on a small child. And the hand of the priest was like this, as if it was blessing the child. And the child looked up at the priest. And because in the Western world, they're very used to giving a high five. So for the priest whose hand was like this, the child from below gave a high five to the priest like that. So that is the kind of innocence that the child has at that age. And that is what we are all when we are small children. But as we grow in our journey, as we become youth, as we become adults, as we become middle-aged, the dirt of the world gets accumulated in us. Swiftness gets diluted and our size increases in terms of the relationships that we have. And all the relationships bring bondage, and all of that leads to slowing down of our journey towards our destination, and accumulation of the worldly dirt, the worldly misunderstandings, the worldly complications have all got into us. And we have, as the river Ganga becomes towards Ganga Sagar, become quite a diluted personality. And the innocence, the purity, the selflessness, the love that we had as virtues as a child is all lost. And we are this very grumpy, complicated, selfish, political, and egoistic individual thinking that we are right and everybody else is wrong. That is the kind of comparison that Swami has drawn between the journey of Ganga and the journey of our life. And hence Swami draws our attention when he talks about internal purity to our very body. The senses are the outermost in our exchange with the world. The senses, and then you have the body, you have the mind, you have the intellect, and finally you have the soul. The purity levels get diluted as we move outwards, and the refinement increases as we move inwards. The buddhi or the intellect is closest to the Atma. Then comes the mind. Then comes the body and its senses. So Swami has said in the journey of purity, we should always consult the buddhi before ensuring that the body and senses fulfill any diktat of the mind. In one particular discourse, Swami had said, the mind is like the king. The body and senses are like the soldiers. What we are currently doing is we are letting the soldiers dictate to the king how the king should behave. The king should tell the soldiers how we should behave. And how will the king tell? The king does not have all the intelligence. So the king consults the prime minister in order to give instructions. Who is the Prime Minister? Swami gave the answer. The buddhi or the intellect is the Prime Minister, who should be consulted before giving instructions to the soldiers. And the soldiers should then fulfill the command of the king, which is the mind. Who gives power to this Prime Minister, which is the buddhi, the soul? And Swami said the soul is like the sun. It is ever shining. And the buddhi, which is the closest to the sun, borrows of this supreme wisdom and luminosity of the Atma to the maximum extent, advises the mind, and mind in turn should direct the body and its senses. If we follow this particular algorithm or this particular formula before taking any decision in our life, we will be able to ensure the highest levels of purity. When Swami had joked, somebody complained to Swami, Swami, a lot of negativities are being spoken in the world outside. How do we ensure that all that negativity does not get into us? So then Swami asked a counter question. He is not the one to give simple answers. He asked a counter question. In your house, why do you have doors and windows? You have doors and windows so that dogs and pigs and cats and animals do not enter your house and birds do not enter your house through the windows. You have them so that you can close them. Similarly, these negative thoughts and ideas of which are like pigs and dogs and cats and wild animals should not be allowed by the windows of doors and of the doors and windows of the body. You should shut them. You should prevent them from entering. And for that, we should use our buddhi of discrimination, which is our greatest gift. And that's why Swami would often chide all of us whenever we do something which is not to his expectation. He would say, buddhi ledu, you do not have buddhi. Hence, the message of Swachhata se Divyata tak is the message of activating our buddhi. It is in using the Prime Minister of this body and mind in order to advise the king of the mind so that the soldiers of the body and the senses are able to achieve the purpose for which they have been given. This can be compared beautifully with the Mahabharata. The Kauravas are like the 100 senses and their desires. The blind king, Dhritarashtra, is like the mind who is attached to these senses, the body and the 100 suns, which are symbolic of the 100 desires and the body and the sense objects. And Vidura, the buddhi, is the Prime Minister who tells Dhritarashtra the right things. This is what you should do. This is what you should not do. Do not get attached to your sons because your duty is towards the kingdom and not towards your son. The mind's duty is not towards the body and its organs. It is towards the purpose for which it has been given, that is realization of the divinity. But because Dhritarashtra does not lead to Vidura, it leads to the destruction of the entire body and senses or of Hastinapura or of the Kauravas. If we do not listen to the advice of the buddhi, we will face a similar situation. And hence, the Gayatri mantra is meant to give us more and more refinement and nuance in our buddhi. Dhiyo yona prachodayat is what we pray in the Gayatri mantra. Let the supreme divinity help in the refinement of our buddhi or intellect so that we may use it in even better and more efficient fashions and achieve the purpose of our existence, which is realization of divinity within. So this is a little longish explanation to the true purpose of this journey of Swachhata se Divyata tak. From external cleanliness to internal cleanliness, from cleanliness of the mind to the refinement of the buddhi, and the using of the buddhi to advise the mind, to guide the body and senses towards the purpose for which they have been given, that is realization of divinity, is the true journey of Swachhata se Divyata tak. And let us embark in this fortnight towards achieving this particular objective that Swami has placed before us and the organization has very enthusiastically initiated over the last 5+ years. The second question for today, so the first question was on the symbolism of this particular message of Swachhata se Divyata tak. The second question today is about Trikarana Shuddhi. What is Trikarana Shuddhi? and how can we achieve it in our normal daily life? What is Trikarna Shuddhi and how can we achieve it in our normal daily life? Last time in the question answer that we had, there was a lot of heavy spirituality. We had a lot of Vedantic concepts, and a lot of aunties were like, this is too heavy. This is very difficult. So let us do some more simple things. So today's session, I'm going to cover more practical and simple things and revert back to some complex stuff next time. We can only postpone the syllabus. We cannot remove it from the syllabus. So examination paper, the difficult questions can be attempted later and we do more easy questions first. So today we are going to cover a little more easy syllabus and hence I have taken all the easier set of questions. So the question on Trikarana Shuddhi is very important. And let me begin with this particular experience of Trai Vrindavan. Swami was with all the students in Trai Vrindavan and the exams were just over and the results were about to be declared. And Swami asked if the results have been declared or not. And they said, Swami, the results have not yet been declared. Swami is the chancellor of the university. So he was asking the students. Then Swami said, okay, I will ask you a question. Give me an answer. So the student said, yes, Swami. Swami asked, what are the three major subjects in BSc undergraduate course? Physics, chemistry, mathematics. If you get 90 out of 100 in physics, if you get 60 out of 100 in chemistry, and if you get 30 out of 100 in mathematics, will you pass the examination or will you fail? So the student said, fail, Swami. So Swami said, why fail? So the student said, Swami, you have to get pass marks in all the examinations. You have to get passing marks. Passing marks is 35. So if you want to pass BSc, you have to get 35 in physics, chemistry, and mathematics. Swami said, oh, is it so? You have to get passing marks in all the three exams. They said, yes, Swami. So Swami asked, okay, now you answered my second question. If you get 90 out of 100 in talking, you get 60 out of 100 in your actions, and you get 30 out of 100 in your thoughts. Have you passed in God's examination or no? So there was a stoic silence in the Trai Vrindavan hall because the message had hit hard all the students. So all the students looked down and said, no, Swami, you don't pass. Why? Swami asked. So the student said, Swami, because in thoughts we have not got passing marks. Swami said, you are 90 out of 100 in giving talks. You're all very good in giving talks. Everybody wants to give a talk and advise others on what to do. You're very good in your actions. When it comes to be coming on a stage, you are very well dressed. You conduct yourself well in public, in society, 60 out of 100. But in your thoughts, 30 out of 100. All the time you are complaining, you are comparing, you are all the time talking ill about others in your mind. He's like this, she's like that, he did this, she did that. And all the time your mind is full of these complex and undesirable thoughts. So how will you pass in God's exams if you have not got passing marks in your thoughts? So in order to pass in God's exam, you should get very good marks in thought, word, and deed. This is Trikarana Shuddhi. This is how Swami explained the complex Vedic concept of Trikarana Shuddhi to young college students using the example of physics, chemistry, and mathematics in mathematics examination. If we reflect in our life, I'm going to dwell a little bit on Trikarana Shuddhi today because it's a often quoted, less practiced spiritual concept. And it will help us very much because it's a fundamental concept in spirituality. Many times our practices are one-sided, as we just discussed. And but we talk Vedanta. We talk about all supreme spiritual concepts. And Swami used to call such Vedantins as Vacha Vedantis. They are speaking Vedanta. Unfortunately, Vedanta is not an area of giving speeches. It is but only to introduce you. Thereafter, 90% of the job is in practice. Vedanta is a realm of experience, not the realm of giving speeches. That is why Swami, if we really want to progress, Swami has focused on the concept of Trikarana Shuddhi, which is the fundamental principle of practice. What is the meaning of the word Trikarana Shuddhi? Shuddhi means purity. Karana means instruments. Three means three. Which are the three karanas or the three instruments for which we have to maintain purity? Thought, speech, and action. Trikarana Shuddhi is the purity of thought, word, and deed, and the unity of thought, word, and deed. Not just purity, unity as well. They have to be in the same direction. They have to be of utmost purity. In fact, we all chant Hanuman Chalisa, but we don't know that even the Hanuman Chalisa gives the message of the power of Trikarana Shuddhi. Goswami Tulsidas, its composer, has mentioned in the 26th verse of Hanuman Chalisa, Sankat se Hanuman chudave, man krama vachana dhyana jo lave. Do you remember this verse? Sankat se Hanuman chudave, man krama vachana dhyana jo lave. Those who bring their thought, word, and deed in unity and purity, for them Hanuman showers his grace and anugraha and redeems them of their problems and sorrows. Those who worship him or think of him or venerate him with unity and purity of thought, word, and deed. So we chant all of these, or we sing all of these great hymns, but we seldom reflect on their message. We get tricked. There's a very nice story Swami had shared. This is the story of a conference which all the deer had in the jungle. The deer were arguing among themselves as to who is great in that conference. And the deer president got up to share his profound knowledge as to how the deer are far better than the wild dogs who usually trouble them. The president deer spoke about the antlers which they have and said that if those antlers are hit, the dogs are hit with those antlers, then they will be damaged in their stomach. The deer president spoke about the power of the speed with which the deer can run, and the dogs, the wild dogs, cannot ever match that speed. The deer president spoke about the nimbleness with which it can jump, and the dogs are not that nimble. And then the deer president concluded, why should we be afraid? Deer as in D-E-E-R, not D-A-R. The D-E-E-R, deer president concluded, why should we be worried of the dogs? Why should we be upset? And all the deer unanimously supported the presidential observations. And a resolution was passed in the deer conference that the deer should not be afraid of the dogs. Scarcely was this resolution passed in the deer conference that a pack of wild dogs started barking in a distance. And the moment the first sound of barking was heard, the entire conference of deer dispersed, along with the president at the beginning, at the lead of this entire pack of deer, and they ran away. All their resolution of not being afraid of dogs was thrown to the winds. All their power and their strength was neglected and considered to be inconsequential, and they ran away. What was their resolution and what was their subsequent action? The resolution was about how powerful and great they are. Their subsequent action was of fear, and they ran away immediately. Don't we behave like these deer? We make tall claims that all the negativities of the world will not affect us. But the moment we have the slightest of attraction or negative influence, we succumb to these inherent limitations. And all our New Year resolutions are put in the mental storeroom in the very first week of the new year. So Swami has given another formula to be practicing Trikarna Shuddhi. And that formula is his name itself. B-A-B-A. What is B-A-B-A? Swami said. Be alert and be aware. Trikarna Shuddhi is possible if we are alert of all the negativities and problems outside, and be aware. Trikarna Shuddhi is possible if we are aware of the divinity within. Be alert, be aware. This is what Swami called as constant integrated awareness. So effectively, Trikarna Shuddhi is this constant integrated awareness of the negativities outside, and we should be distant from them, and the divinity within, which we should always be reflecting on. There's another nice story of the summer course 1990 of how Trikarna Shuddhi is usually practiced in our life. There was this rich farmer in a village, and there was this who was the undisputed leader of the village. And there was this another poor farmer in the same village. One day, the cattle, the bullocks belonging to these two farmers started fighting with each other. And this poor farmer was very worried that his bullock is fighting with the rich farmer's bullock, but he couldn't help it. Who will enter into a fight where two bullocks are fighting? Hey, if you try to resolve their problem, you will yourself get resolved. So this poor man had no option but to wait for the fight to conclude. And during the course of the fight, this poor man's bullock killed the rich man's bullock due to an injury in a vulnerable part of the body. So this poor man, this poor farmer became extremely anxious, and he ran to inform the rich farmer about the fatal accident. But he was extremely anxious. He was very nervous. So in the course of his communication, he told the rich farmer, sir, your bullock killed my bullock. This was actually opposite of what had happened. But in his sense of nervousness, he said, your bullock killed my bullock. So this rich farmer started telling this poor farmer about all spiritual concepts. He said, you see, life is temporary. We are all temporary. We will all die one day. If human beings kill each other and die, what is the great wonder if one bullock kills another bullock? After all, it is a bullock. This is what this rich farmer was telling the poor farmer. Then suddenly it dawned upon the poor farmer that he had said the reverse of what had happened. He said, no, sir. I said by mistake. Your bullock has not killed my bullock. My bullock has killed your bullock. And the moment he said this, the entire response of that particular rich farmer changed. He was filled with rage. He shouted at this poor farmer and showered him with choicest abuses. All his spiritual wisdom had vanished, and he blamed the poor farmer for the act of his bullock and demanded a compensation of 5,000 rupees. Don't we behave like this? What is our mantra? When anybody else suffers a loss, we say, it is divine will. Your loss is divine will. But when it comes to our mistake, we say, my loss is your mistake. So your loss is divine will. My loss is your mistake. This kind of dichotomy happens because of this lack of virtue, which is called Trikarna Shuddhi. Very often, whose problem is it? Your mistake means not only the other person's mistake. We go to the level of blaming God. It is because of you that I'm going through all this. I pray so much to you. And what do I get in exchange? You put me through all these difficulties. You put me through all these problems. And you are silently watching me suffer. What is it that you're doing for my well-being? And to narrate this particular irony in the summer course of 1973, Swami shared another nice story. Today I'm going to share all the stories in order to drive home the message of Vedanta. So this particular person, let us call him by the name Rajesh. He came to Swami sometime in the mid-1950s. This is a real life story Swami narrated in that summer course. He came to Swami in the 1950s and he prayed to Swami that he should do well in his examination. So Swami said, yes, you should work hard and you should prepare well for the examination and you will do well. But Rajesh insisted that no, Swami should bless him, that he should pass his examination and secure a first class. So Swami said, yes, work hard and I bless you that you will do well. He did well in his exam and he secured a first class. And then he came to Swami again and said, Swami, I want a job, please bless me. Swami said, yes, you've got first class in your examination and I bless you that you will get a good job. Now he got a good job by his good luck. And within 2 months of his passing the examination and his job was going well, 6 months later, he again came to Swami and he said, Swami, I have a unique prayer. So Swami said, what? He said, in the company that I'm working, there is this typist girl and I have fallen in love with her. Please bless me that I should marry her. So Swami said, did you take the permission of your parents? So he said, no, Swami, my parents are not in favor of the marriage. But if I don't get married to this girl, I will commit suicide. So you please bless me that I should get married to her. So this person said, so Swami said, no, don't talk like that. You should not talk about suicide and such things. You should convince your parents, explain to them, and they will definitely agree to your wedding. And I also bless you. So finally, the parents agreed. And with Swami's blessings, he married that typist girl. And a year later, he came back with his first child and said, Swami, please bless my child. And please bless me that I should succeed in my career and I should get promotion. Swami said, you work hard, you will get promotion, you will do well in your career also. And then for 4-5 years, almost 6 years, he did not come for Swami's darshan. 6 years later, he came back for Swami's darshan and he again got interview. And this time he had no doubt got a lot of promotion in work, but he had also got a lot of promotion in personal life. He had 4-5 children and his family expanded to such an extent that his wife has to leave the job and take full-time care of the children. Because of 4-5 children, the burden on him increased. He had to manage his house with limited resources, wife not earning. And these children were obviously 5 small children at home. You can imagine the noise and the distractions. So this guy came back to Swami and he said, Swami, what is it that you have done to me? I am fed up with the family. I cannot manage the burden of the wife and my 5 children. My children have destroyed the peace at home with their constant cries and demands. My wife no longer loves me the way she used to. She has even stopped working. The family has got hold of me like a big snake and it has bit me. My life is a mess. I want relief from all this. Please give me a small job in the ashram and I will settle down here. This is what the man told Swami. He told Swami that you are responsible for all this and now I want a job in the ashram. So Swami smiled mischievously and said, did the snake catch you on its own? Or whether you went out to the snake, invited it to come and offered yourself to be bitten by it? Did the snake of this worldly life that you are complaining about today, did it bite you on its own? Or you went out to invite the snake, brought it home, offered yourself to it to be bitten, and now you are blaming me that the snake of worldly life has bitten you and now you should redeem me. You have offered yourself to this. You prayed for every single thing in this journey. And now you are blaming me for the outcomes of whatever you have prayed for. Who is responsible for all that has happened to you? This is the kind of situations we put ourselves in. We blame others for our problems. We blame our family and our circumstances for what we are in. And most often we blame God for all that we are going through, forgetting that we have ourselves done all of these things that have invited the kind of problems that we are in. If there is one person who is responsible for all the problems we are facing, you will find that person when you stand in front of the mirror. You will instantly recognize him because that is you yourself. We are responsible for our own problems. Trikarna Shuddhi involves first identifying and accepting that we are ourselves responsible for our own problems. Once, the former deputy managing director of Larsen and Toubro, Dr. A. Ramakrishna, had asked Swami, when will there be a solution to the Kashmir problem between India and Pakistan? It is going on since the last 50 years. When will the solution to India's and Pakistan's Kashmir problem finally come? Swami said, the Kashmir problem between India and Pakistan can be solved in 30 minutes. There is only one prerequisite. There should be absolute Trikarna Shuddhi on both sides in order to solve the problem. The problem is not getting solved because nobody wants to solve the problem. There is no Trikarna Shuddhi on both the sides. That is why it is not getting solved even in 50 years. It won't get solved in 500 years if that Trikarna Shuddhi is not developed. Because for any problem solving, this Trikarna Shuddhi is a prerequisite. So the problem solution lies in our attitude and the intensity with which we approach the problem. And now culminating the answer to Trikarna Shuddhi, what is Trikarna Shuddhi? And Swami said, Nama Smarana, Japa, Sankirtana, Seva, all of this is definitely, we think it is sadhana. Swami said, this is not sadhana. These are good activities. These are noble activities. What is the highest sadhana? What is the true sadhana? Swami gave the answer while addressing his students on 2nd of July, 1989. He said, true sadhana is not taking the posture of some yogic asana and standing in Shirshasana for that matter. True and the highest sadhana is achieving harmony in thought, word, and deed. That is Trikarna Shuddhi. If you do so, honor and glory will come searching for you, not only in your house, but also in the society, also in the country, and wherever else you go. So Trikarna Shuddhi is the highest penance. It is the non-stop awareness of who we are and how we have to be alert against the negativities from outside. When we are able to make this our Sahaja Swabhava, all other forms of sadhana become natural to us. That's why the scriptures have said, Manas Anyat, Vachas Anyat, Karman Anyat Duratmanam. The one whose thought, word, and deed are not in alignment is a Duratma. He is a bad man. Who is a Mahatma? Manasyekam, Vachasyekam, Karmanyekam Mahatmanam. The one whose thought, word, and deed are in unity, the one who has Trikarna Shuddhi, is a Mahatma. And probably that is the reason why Gandhiji was also called a Mahatma, because his thought, word, and deed were in substantial unity. What he said, what he believed in the ideal of truth and ahimsa, he spoke about it. And as far as his own personal life is concerned, he practiced it to the utmost level. That is what a true Mahatma is. And that is the role which Trikarna Shuddhi should play in our daily life. So this is the long answer to the question of how we can achieve it in our normal daily life. What is Trikarna Shuddhi and what is the role it plays in our spiritual journey? The third question, Swami himself was humility personified. Yet people do not let go of their ego. Why? Now, before I answer this question, I'll take a sip of water. But if there are any counter questions that anybody wants to ask in the first 2 points I have discussed, Maya Aunty, you may want to coordinate that. If there are any questions, otherwise I'll go to the third question.
Any questions?
Okay, I think there are none.
Yeah, you can continue.
We'll continue the question on humility, why people do not let go of their ego. And Swami himself was humility personified. I think for that, first we have to take Swami as a role model. We have to realize that Swami's life is meant for giving us a message. Swami's life is supposed to be practiced by us in our own life. The problem is that we venerate Swami, we worship Swami, we love Swami, but we did not take the next step of loving his message and practicing it in our daily life. Because the avatar comes, the avatar lives in our midst, and the avatar embarks on a particular mission only to set an example as a role model so that we can learn from him. It is not just for veneration and for keeping in a museum. It is for actual practice in our daily life. So that is the first priority problem. We come into Swami's mission. We come into the organization instead of coming with a clean slate and learning from the pristine message and the mission which Swami has placed before us. We begin to the institutions, the worldly dirt, the worldly preconceived notions that we have. And then we use the same parameters to achieve success in the spiritual path. Competition, comparison, give and trade, give and take, selfishness, hunger for power, desire for positions. These are the methods we think which will help us rise in the spiritual path. Because these are the methods we think have helped us achieve success in the worldly path. So we think this will help in the spiritual path as well. It will not work. There is only one path or only one prerequisite which will help in the path of spirituality. In the summer course 1990, Swami said, people have relationship with God like shareholders. 50-50. I will put my best, you give your grace, whatever comes, we will share 50-50. Just like we do shareholder related trading, we do this kind of wheeling, dealing with God. Swami said, this will not work. There is only one thing that will work with God, and that is surrender. What is surrender? There are three types of surrender. Swami has given these three types of surrender because these are the three paths to spirituality, and for each of this, surrender is important. What are the three types of surrender for the three paths of spirituality? First is the pravritti marga, or the path towards the external world, which is also known as karma yoga or karma marga. What do you surrender in karma yoga or karma marga? We surrender the fruits of our action. Karma yoga is not ordinary karma. We usually equate karma with karma yoga. Somebody who has dedicated his entire life to action, whether it is service to society, or it is service to the nation, or service to family, or service to profession, we say, oh, he was a great karma yogi. That is not karma yogi. That is karma margi. He was desirous to be constantly indulged in action and use his life fruitfully. Karma yogi is the one who undertakes all this action, but surrendering the fruit of those actions to God. No desire for fruit, no desire for results, no desire for outcome. That is karma yoga. So surrender of the fruit of action in the pravritti marga or karma yoga is the path of surrender in that spiritual path. Second, Swami said, the path of spirituality is, first is pravritti, second is prapatti. Prapatti is what is bhakti yoga. Sri Ramanujacharya, the foremost proponent of Vishishta Advaita, had said the highest virtues for spirituality are bhakti and prapatti. Prapatti means surrender. Surrender what? Surrender your will to God's will. That is the surrender in Bhakti Marga. The will you surrender. In Karma Marga, you decide, I will do this, I will undertake this action, I will do this service. You surrender the fruit of action. In Bhakti Marga, you surrender your will itself. Whatever happens is God's will. I will do as God wishes me to do. All of this is God's creation. I am a humble servant of God, and hence whatever happens is God's will. You surrender your will to God's will. You become a flute. You become hollow. And that's when Krishna takes you and starts playing with you. He brings out beautiful melodies through the flute. What is the message of flute on the lips of Krishna? It is that the individual who is hollow without his own will, God will take such an individual into his hand and blow his divine breath through that individual, and the most mellifluous of tunes will spring forth from that ordinary piece of wood, because that wood is hollow. Similarly, when we are all hollow, we are all pieces of wood. When we are hollow without our own will, and we are ready to do what God's will is, then God takes us in his hands and blows the most beautiful of breath through us, and we become immortal in the hands of God. Actually, there is no God who is taking us. That God is existent. That is verily our soul, which is blowing forth that beautiful melodies when we give up our individual will and work through divine will. This is the path of prapatti or bhakti yoga. And the last path is nivritti marga or jnana yoga. Here also you surrender. What do you surrender? Here you surrender your very identity. I am not this body mind at all. Who am I? I am Atma. I am the witness. And you observe everything as a witness, because you are not the body and mind. You're observing. So here you are surrendering your identity itself. No separate identity. Only one identity. I am the Atma. The same Atma is in everybody, and I am a witness to whatever is happening around. So in all these three paths, whether it is Karma Yoga or Pravritti Marga, whether it is Bhakti Yoga or Prapatti Marga, or it is Jnana Yoga or Nivritti Marga, all of this, the prerequisite for success is surrender. In the first, surrender the fruit of actions. In second, you surrender your individual will to God's will. And third, you surrender your very individual identity as this body mind and remain aware that you are not the body mind, you are the indweller, you are verily the Atma. So this surrender is very, very important. And as I said, the avatar comes to set an example. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna had said to Arjuna, Name parthasti kartavyam trishu lokeshu kinchana nana vaptam avaptavyam varta eva cha karmani. I have no need to perform any duties in all the three worlds, yet I incarnate time and again and follow the prescribed duties so that people may emulate my example and reach the highest realms of existence. The avatar should be our role model. We should learn from him, and that is why we come into the organization. Here are three examples of Swami's humility, because the question is on humility. Everybody likes to listen to Swami's stories. So here are three stories from Swami's life. This is way back in the early 1980s, when the university had just started. Once Swami came for a surprise visit to the university, and he sat in the very last bench. Everybody came. Imagine Swami coming into the classroom. Just imagine you are a teacher or you are a student. You're sitting in the classroom, and who comes in? Swami comes in. Swami comes into the classroom, and everybody gets up. And he's not come to give an interview. He's not come to spend time with you. He said, no. Continue the class. I have come to sit and observe. So he sits in the last row. He asks for pen and paper from one of the students, and he makes some notes. Now imagine the plight of the teacher. The teacher has to stand in front of the blackboard. Swami is sitting in the classroom. The students are sitting, and the teacher has to teach some mundane economics or accounts or mathematics, and has to teach as if he cannot see Swami. And imagine you are scared of uttering every sentence, every word, because Swami is sitting in the audience. But Swami behaves like a perfect student. He's making sincere notes, and gradually the teacher gains confidence, and the half an hour class is over. The end of the session, Swami blesses all the students, blesses the teacher, and before leaving, hands over that piece of paper to the teacher. And what is it that Swami, and then so Swami leaves, the students also disperse, and the teacher opens that piece of paper, and what does he see there? He sees there that Swami had made a note of all the areas in which the teacher needs to improve his teaching. You are not engaging all the students in the class. You're only focusing on the students who are giving quick answers. You should focus on the weak students as well. You are not loud enough. I was sitting in the last row. I could not hear some of your words. You should speak loudly. Your handwriting was not big enough. Those who are sitting in the last row are not able to read what is written on the board. You should write big enough. These were the kind of practical tips in teaching well that Swami gave to the teacher before moving out. Name parthasti kartavyam trishu lokeshu kinchana. I have no duty in all the three worlds. As a chancellor, this is not his job. But he comes into these human roles to set an ideal example. Second story. This was in the hostel. Swami used to call the students way back in 1979-80, even before the Prashantanilayam campus hostel was inaugurated. Swami used to call all the students to the mandir on Sundays in the afternoon, in the noon time after darshan interviews are all over for cleaning work. Now, what cleaning work will be there every Sunday? This was only a way to engage with the students, give them opportunities of proximity, and make them feel good because they're staying away from their parents. So here's an opportunity to engage with Swami, interact with him, and get those opportunities. So all the students were there. Teachers were not allowed. So the teachers were standing on the terrace of the hostel on the other side. This was where the hostel was, next to the East Prashanti block, the extended East Prashanti block. And the warden, that time, the warden was Professor Bhalachandra, who eventually retired as the head of the department and dean of humanities of Swami's University in 2012. He had joined as a young teacher, and he was also made the initial warden to take care of the students. So he was standing there and observing what the students are doing with Swami. And he saw this young boy, probably from Mumbai, who had a broom in his hand, but he was standing just like that. And Swami came to him, and Swami spoke something. Now he could not see from almost 100 feet away what the two are talking. But then gradually Swami took the broom from this boy's hand and himself started brooming the floor. This boy was looking at Swami brooming the floor with no reaction. And this warden, Professor Bhalandran, he was extremely angry with this boy. He said, this boy has no shame. Swami is brooming the floor and this boy is standing and looking at Swami brooming the floor. Let him come to the hostel. I will take him to task. And he walked away. After some hours, when the students came back, he called this boy and he said, what were you doing? You were standing there and looking at Swami brooming the floor. You have no shame. You are there to do service, not to make Swami broom the floor and watch him broom. What is this indiscipline? Then the boy said, sir, actually I am from Mumbai. I have never broomed my house in my lifetime. So I don't know how to broom. So I was not knowing how to use that particular jhadu. So I was standing with the jhadu, not know what to do. So Swami came to me and asked me. So I told him, Swami, I don't know how to use this broom, this jhadu, please help me. So Swami said, you don't know how to broom? Come, I will teach you how to broom. And Swami took the broom and went around showing how the room has to be broomed. Name parthasti kartavyam trishu lokeshu kinchana. I have no duty in all the three worlds, and yet I incarnate to set an example so that others may learn from my example and progress in this path of spirituality. This is what Swami has taught through his actions time and again. Last example, Swami was getting into his car and going somewhere, and Sevadal have usually the responsibility or the opportunity to close the door when Swami sits into the car. So one Sevadal closed the door and the car left the Nilayam and it went a slight kilometer or two away after the crowds had receded. The car had picked up some speed and Swami told the driver, wait. Stop the car. So the driver said, what happened, Swami? What happened, Swami? Swami said, no, stop the car. Swami opened the door, took his foot inside and then closed the door. And that's when the driver realized that the Sevadal, in all his enthusiasm, had closed the door of the car even before Swami's full foot was inside. And the small finger of Swami's foot had got stuck in the car door. So the driver was aghast. He said, Swami, you should have told me at that time. I would have immediately stopped the car, or rather, you should have yourself opened the door and reprimanded that Sevadal. Is this the way to do Seva? Swami said, see, Bangaru, that Sevadal probably had a once in a lifetime opportunity to close the door of the car. His joy lied in this particular Seva activity, that he got to close the door of the car so that I can proceed in my journey. In that enthusiasm, he forgot that he should wait till my leg is fully inside. And he closed the door. Now, if I would have removed my foot in the presence of that Sevadal and reprimanded him, for the rest of his life, he would not have remembered the joy of the service of closing the door of my car. He would have remembered that he caused pain to Swami's physical form, and that foot got stuck into the car, and would blame himself for the rest of his life. I did not want him to feel sorrowful about his act. I wanted him to remember this act with great joy. And that is why I did not remove my foot from my toe stuck in the door in the presence of other devotees. Name parthasti kartavyam trishu lokeshu kinchana. I have no duty to perform in all the three worlds, yet I incarnate to set an example. This is the message to all those who participate in the mission, in the organization with inflated egos, not wanting to learn from Swami's life, his message, his humility, his compassion, his empathy, his kind of selfless love, and wanting to bring the dirt and polluted mindset of the worldly ways into the spiritual path. We can only set an example and learn from the master. We cannot change anybody. We can change only one person, that is ourselves. So let us be that example, and let us live lives inspired by Swami rather than finding fault in others. That is the first and the most important requirement in the spiritual journey. Question number 4. How can we be in a state of bliss when so much is happening in the world? How can we be in a state of bliss when so much is happening in the world? Great. I'm so delighted that you have got concern for the world. So my answer to that question from the path of Karma Marga or Karma Yoga is great. Please don't rest till the problems of the world are solved. You should not be in bliss. You should go out and solve the problems of the world. That's what Gandhiji had also said. And my repeated reference to him is in the context of Gandhi Jayanti tomorrow. And it is this ideal of Gandhiji that the first Prime Minister of India, Jawaharlal Nehru, referred to in that landmark talk on the midnight of 15th August 1947. He had said, the ambition of the greatest man of our generation has been to wipe every tear from every eye. That was Gandhi's ambition. Antyodaya, the last man in the line, his problem should be solved. Till then, our job is not done. And Pandit Nehru said, that may be beyond us, but as long as there are tears and sufferings, so long our work will not be over. So great, if you feel that there is so much of problem in the world, please indulge in the path of karma and go and try and solve those problems. A young sadhaka came to Swami Vivekananda and said, Swamiji, my first guru encouraged me to worship a particular form of God. So I got that particular statue and put it in my altar, and I was worshipping and meditating on that beautiful form of God. Then that guru passed away, and I got another guru, and that guru encouraged me to worship the formless aspect of God. So I have removed that particular idol. Now I close my eyes and try and meditate on the formless aspect of God. Now that guru also has passed away. And so I have come to you to please help me in my spiritual journey. What should I do? So Vivekananda looked at that man and said, young man, Open your eyes first. Yes, sir. Second, open the door of your altar room, of your puja room. Yes, sir. Third, open the door of your house and go out. Yes, sir. And when you go out to the street, you will find so many poor, hungry, and deprived, downtrodden people. Go and serve them and relieve them of their problems. Therein lies your emancipation, not in sitting and closing your eyes and meditating on God whom you have never seen. Go and see God in the sick and forlorn and downtrodden, and therein lies your emancipation. That is what Swami told to youth from a particular state of India who had approached Swami. Swami, we have done this and we have done that. I'll come to that story later. Let me cover the second part. So this is the path of karma marga, or solving the problems of the world or not being in bliss because the world is in problems. From the perspective of bhakti marga, the answer to the question is, what was the question? How can we be in a state of bliss when so much is happening in the world? So what will be the answer to this question for a proponent of bhakti marga? The answer will be, who are you to wipe the tears of the downtrodden and distressed? It is the Lord who has willed this. It is the Lord who is giving you the opportunity to relieve them. You are just an instrument. So don't think that you are the one who is solving the problems of the downtrodden. It is the Lord who is working through you. That is what Krishna told Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita. Do you think you are fighting the Kauravas? Do you think you are defeating all these great warriors on the other side? No, I have already willed that they die. They are already dead. I am giving you an opportunity to do your dharma and duty to defend the path of dharma. That's why what was the most important message Krishna gave to Arjuna? Nimitta matram bhavasavya sachi. Oh Arjuna, just be nimitta or an instrument and I will work through you. So that is the answer to the question through Bhakti Marga, that you be an instrument in solving the problem. Don't think that you are wiping the tears of the downtrodden and the poor. The Lord is doing that and using you as an instrument to do it. And now from the path of Jnana Marga, what is the question? I'm again repeating the question and giving the answer so that you know the mindset which we need to have, and then stick to one. Don't do convenient philosophy. We do Jnana Marga when we have to indulge in karma. We do Karma Marga when we have to indulge in Jnana and say, you see, it's so confusing. So I am just devoted to Swami and pray to him. He will take care of everything. This is the biggest and the most convenient excuse I have always listened to. And that is why I'm giving detailed to-do list on each of these paths. So what is the question? How can we be in a state of bliss when so much is happening in the world? So now, from the perspective of Jnana Marga, what is the answer to the question? The answer to the question is, how many of us shed tears of sorrow on watching a film? There is so much of sorrow in the film. There is so much of violence in the film. There is so much of difficulties in the film. Are we shedding tears of sorrow when we are seeing all of that? No. Why? Because we know that it is cinema. It is not reality. We are engrossed in it, so we get carried away for a while that this is reality. It is not. It is only images that are playing on the white screen of the cinema hall in front of you. The path of Jnana Marga will say that just as the cinema is relatively real, the world too is relatively real. What is the purpose of this world? The world is a university where we gather knowledge and equip ourselves. Then the world becomes a laboratory where we experiment the knowledge we have gathered and the values that we have learned, the lessons that we have learned in this laboratory of the world. So the world is a laboratory where we experiment with the values that we have learned in the university of the world and practice those values. And lastly, the world is a playground. And we are here to play the game of life. Swami used to say, life is a game, play it. Life is a game, play it. Play it where? You need a playground to play the world. This world is that playground. Its role is only for the playground. As a playground, you have to play the game. And you are not winning with others. You are only mastering your own game and improving yourself and your skills. What is the formula for success in this game? The 4F formula. Follow the master. Face the devil. Fight to the end. Finish the game. What is the meaning of that? Follow the master, the values, the path that the master has shown. Face the devil. Devil is all these dualities and dichotomies of the world. Fight to the end. To fight whom? Not others. Fight these dichotomies and dualities and negativities and tendencies which are coming in way of your playing this game well. Fight to the end. And once you overcome them, finish the game. The game of life is over. Because the game of life is only to fight these dualities. And for that, this playground of this world has been given. This playground has no inherent value. The world has no inherent value. It is only for our self-improvement. And that is the difference in the seva we do in our organization vis-a-vis other organizations. We are not doing seva to solve the problems of the world. We are doing seva to better ourselves. The problems of the world are like arthritis. You solve the problem of arthritis in one part of the hand, and that arthritis will move to the other part of the hand. You solve the arthritis in the hand, and the problem will go to the feet. The problems of the world are like arthritis. They will keep moving to different parts of the world, the different parts of society. We definitely should try and relieve the pain like we do of arthritis in the hope that this disease will be cured. But actually, all of this is being done so that we can rise above this whole duality of the world and the concept of seva by improving ourselves. And here I'd like to share that example of that experience of Swami and the youth. The youth had done a lot of service in the rural areas. And they came and they got an interview and they told Swami, we've done this and we've done that. And Swami was very happy. You have done wonderful work. I'm very happy. Then Swami asked a question. Tell me, after doing this service activity, have you reduced your anger? Have you improved your tolerance? Have you increased your patience? Have you increased your empathy? Have you reduced your jealousy? If you have reduced and increased all these things accordingly, only then your purpose of undertaking that seva has been achieved. You think you are solving the problems of those people. Even if you are not there, the problems of the world will get solved. And if you try as much, they will not get solved because you are not solving the problems of the world. You are utilizing that opportunity to better yourself. So from the Jnana Marga perspective, this whole world is a platform for us to better ourselves and realize that we are truly that bliss within. All of these external circumstances do not determine whether we will be blissful or not. That is relative. It is based on action-reaction cycle. So what you actually call bliss, how can we be in bliss? That is not bliss. That is happiness. The scriptures call it Manushyananda. The Taittiriya Upanishad defines Manushyananda. Ashishto, Dridishto, Balishtaha. These are the characteristics. Manushyananda means when a person has everything going well for him. Good body, good opportunities, good wealth, good family, good power. Everything is fine, which is almost impossible, and yet presuming everything is fine, that is Manushyananda. That is the human happiness that we talk about. The bliss that you are talking about, the bliss that Swami talked about, is explained in the Anandavalli of Taittiriya Upanishad, which is Brahmananda. And compared to Manushyananda, if what I explained about Manushyananda, as I said, everything being absolutely fine and going well for him, Brahmananda is 100 crore times Manushyananda. That is the true bliss. That bliss is what Swami is talking about, which neither comes nor goes. It is 100 crore times of the happiness which we are constantly struggling to achieve. And that bliss does not need to be achieved. That is our nature. True nature of every individual is bliss. That is why Swami said, bliss is my food. I exist on bliss. The individual survives on bliss. That is the Atmic bliss, the Atmic existence. Sat Chit Ananda, that Ananda which comes from Sat and Chit, from being and awareness. The problem is we are not talking about that bliss. We are talking about the happiness which is coming from outside. To tap into that bliss, we have to do away with all these things that come in way of our realizing our true identity. What is that true identity? I will probably cover the next time. But here is the last question. So I hope I have answered the question with connect to how can we be in a state of bliss when so much is happening. There is no choice. You are that bliss. Your very nature is bliss. You do not have to achieve bliss. You are bliss. What you are mistaking as being in a state of bliss is actually you're talking about happiness. That happiness which is dependent on external stimuli. That is not the happiness which Swami is talking about. Swami is talking about your very real nature. Bliss is my food. When Swami says your very existence, you depend on existence, on food, right? What is that food? God's food is bliss. He exists on bliss. His very nature is bliss. So the last question is, how do Vedam, Yajna, yoga, temples, worship in temples, prayer, all of this help us in realizing our inherent divinity? This is the question. Now, here's a nice story. There was this Guruji who told his particular disciple that I have a task for you. That disciple had come to the Guruji for spiritual progress. So that Guruji said, yes, but I have a very important task. You see, there is that huge boulder on top of that mountain just behind our ashram. I'm worried that that boulder will someday fall down on the side of the ashram. So what I want you to do is, I want you to push the boulder on the other side so that that boulder comes down the hill, and that concern of the boulder falling onto the ashram, that huge stone falling on the ashram, is taken care of. So the disciple was very happy. Guruji has given me the job of pushing the boulder away. And then he went, and for 1 month, every single day, he pushed the boulder. He kept on pushing the boulder. He kept on pushing the boulder, and the boulder did not move. He tried 8 hours, 10 hours a day. He was sweating, perspiring. The boulder did not move. He came back 1 month later. The Guruji, he prayed to him, Guruji, I have been unsuccessful in the task. What should I do now? I have not been able to fulfill your command, and so I may not be a beneficiary of your grace. The Guru said, I did not say that the boulder will fall down when you push it. I just said you try to push the boulder down because of this apparent concern that I have. Actually, I did not want you to push the boulder down because the boulder cannot be pushed down. It is too strong. It is so strong that it will never fall, either this side nor that side. Then this disciple said, then why did you make me push the boulder for 1 month? I came here for spiritual progress, and for 10 hours a day, you are making me push the boulder when you knew that the boulder will never fall down the mountain. What a waste of time. The Guru said, no, you do not realize. In this period of 8 to 10 hours a day for the last 1 month, the hard work that you have put in, that pushing that boulder, your muscles have become so strong. You have become so fit. You are now ready to undertake the purpose for which I want to involve you in the ashram activities. This was only to make you fit in order to be able to participate effectively in the ashram activities, because you came as a weak person. So this whole set of activities that we have, which are to do with the outside world, are only to enable us to become a fit instrument in order to realize the inner world. In the Viveka Chudamani, Sri Adi Shankaracharya has written, Chittasya Shuddhaye Karmaha Natu Vastu Upalabdhaye. karma or action is for chitta shuddhi. Natu asta upalabdhaye. You cannot realize God by doing these activities. Then why should we do these activities? Here is the answer. Dharmic actions or good karmas help in purifying the chitta. What is the chitta? It is the subconscious mind. That is where all the vrittis or tendencies and vasanas or negative desires have been stored through experiences of lifetime. Every action that we undertake, every thought that we indulge in, every word which we speak leaves behind an impression in our chitta. And these accumulated impressions of lifetimes is what guide the way we behave, we speak, whether we get angry very fast or we are extremely patient, we are extremely compassionate or extremely aggressive, we feel jealous for the smallest of things, or we are very appreciative of others' success. All of this is a function of all these vrittis and tendencies that have been accumulated of our lifetimes. So the whole purpose of doing all these dharmic actions is chitta shuddhi. All these impressions have been put together by our actions, words, and thoughts. All of these are karmas. They are external to us, right? You have indulged in all of this externally, in the outward way. Thought is inside, but that also about the outside world. I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to achieve this, I want to win this, I want to make so much of money. It's all about the outside world. So the same karanas or the same thought, word, and deed have to be used to cleanse the particular impressions that have been accumulated in lifetimes. In the religion of Jainism, which is extremely karma-centric, karma is equated to minute particles, invisible particles, which get attached to our soul when we undertake good and bad deeds. And these are the ones which weigh on us and determine how our journey progresses. So the whole focus is to dissolve these different karmas so that the soul can be liberated of the bondage of karma. Vedanta or Sanatana Dharma talks about these as impressions. You call them impressions, you call them karmas, whatever word you use, the whole objective is chitta shuddhi, is why all of these things need to be done. Swami used to compare this with the process of washing dirty white clothes by a dhobi. What does the dhobi do? The dhobi takes the white clothes which are dirty and removes the dirt. The dhobi doesn't make the clothes white. The clothes were already always white. The dhobi only removed the dirt from the clothes so that the clothes can achieve its pristine whiteness. Similarly, our chitta or our self is our karanas or antakaranas, our instruments, the chitta, mana, buddhi, chitta, ahankara. These are all pristine in its original form. But over several lifetimes, there have been negative tendencies. The mala or the vikshepa, which is unsteadiness, this tendency of jumping from here and there. These two have caused avarana that makes us believe the unreal as real. These tendencies, which is the mala, have led to unsteadiness of our perspective of the world, which is vikshepa, and that has led to an avarana or delusion that makes us believe the unreal world as real. Through sadhana, which are all these things that have been suggested, the chitta will ultimately become pure, like the white cloth, which becomes pure after dhobi washes it. Just like any brand of washing powder, Ariel, Surf, or whatever else you use, it does the same job of washing the clothes clean. All sadhanas are ultimately meant to achieve this end. What is the end? Chitta Shuddhi. Chitta Shuddhi, Swami used to say, leads to Jnana Siddhi. When this chitta is removed of all these negative vrittis and vasanas by undertaking all these sadhanas, the mirror, it is compared to a mirror. The mirror becomes clean, and the chitta is the closest to the Atma Tattva, and there in the chitta's mirror, the Atma's light shines in its entirety. And that is what is called self-realization. So the whole purpose of all these external sadhanas is to make the instruments clean of all these negative tendencies. And when this chitta shuddhi happens, we indulge in lot of inquiry as to who we are. That leads to ultimately jnana siddhi. And that is why in the same verse, chittasya shuddhe karma natu vastu upalabdhaye. What is the second part? Adi Shankaracharya writes, vastu siddhi vicharena na kinchita karma kotibhi. That vastu siddhi or realization of divinity will only come from inquiry. Who am I? Who am I? Who am I? As Ramana Maharishi used to say, ask this question, who am I? As Swami used to say, first know who you are, then you will know who God is. So the whole objective is to make our instruments capable of indulging in this inquiry so that we can ultimately get that self-realization, that reflection of the divinity in the mirror of the chitta. Otherwise, on their own, from an action-reaction perspective, na kinchita karma kotibhi, you indulge in 100 crore actions. Unless they are done with this realization that they have to be done selflessly, they have to be done for the purpose of cleansing these negative tendencies, they are not going to help us progress spiritually. It is not the quantification of how much quantity of sadhana we do, how much yoga we do, how much of worship we do, how much of prayer we do, how much of namasmaran we do, how much of mantra japam we do, how much of vedam we chant, how many types of yajna we undertake. As long as we undertake these things with a desire to get the fruits of action, they will remain at the external physical level. If we really want to use this for our progress, then they have to be seen as a sadhana which will help us cleanse the negative tendencies and help us make ourselves fit instruments for the journey towards divinity and in achieving self-realization. With that, I'll conclude and we'll cover the next set of questions on this journey of self-realization. Who is God? Who are we? And many other questions that came today to me, we'll cover in the next part because I've built a lot of ground in order to be able to appreciate some of the more finer questions. And hence, a lot of elaboration today on the more fundamental aspects of spirituality. I thank the Fort Samiti, its office bearers, and also members of Satsai Seva Organization Mumbai for giving this opportunity to share Swami's message on this platform, and look forward to connecting with you again to take forward this series of question answers in spirituality for better understanding Swami's message and making our lives his message. Jai Sai Ram.
Thank you, Shashank. I think today you are really very lucid in your explanation. Everyone must have really understood the nuances which you were trying to put across. I request our District President, Zone 1, Rajiv Jetli, to please say a few words.
Sai Ram, Sai Ram. As usual, Shashank, such a lovely talk, spoken from the heart, and giving the essence of Swami's teachings, along with all the various stories and all the various experiences. It was just so mesmerizing, absolutely wonderful. We really look forward to having you with us in this series of talks. And for those of you all who may not be aware, I normally think everybody would be, that Shashank has a lovely collection of his talks which come up on the group regularly, spiritual reflections. There's a number of them which are already there, and he's continuing that great work. And all of Swami's teachings on how to put everything into practice with real life situations and how to handle this is absolutely fantastic. Those of you all who haven't seen it must see it, and you must also share it with other people who would be interested and who have a bent of mind towards spirituality. So Shashank, thank you so much again, and we really look forward to having you once again with us soon, and we hope that we are able to continue this series which has been planned. for a long, long time. Thank you. Thank you very much. Sai Ram.
We'll end with a short video.
असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मा अमृतं गमय। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः।
समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु। समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु। समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। जय बोलो भगवान श्री सत्य साई बाबा जी